Bengals setting their sights on Seattle. Mike Petraglia outside Paycor Stadium. Here on Wednesday, the Bengals are back on the practice fields getting ready for Pete Carroll's 3-1 Seattle Seahawks this Sunday at Paycor Stadium at 1 o'clock. The Seahawks have been a bit of a surprise team here in the NFC to start the first 4 weeks of the season. They're coming off a bye week in week number 5. After losing their opener at home to the Los Angeles Rams, Seattle has responded with 3 straight victories, one on the road, a very impressive victory against the Detroit Lions, and then 2 wins over teams they frankly should beat in the Carolina Panthers and the New York Football Giants. So the Seahawks are coming off a bye week. They'll be well rested. Will Jamal Adams play? Stay tuned on that. He is coming off a concussion. The Seattle Seahawks under Pete Carroll have always had a stingy defense. No different this year, as they are tops in the NFL against the run. If you measure it yards per carry, they are allowing just 3.18 yards per rush. And of course, the Bengals have been kind of hit or miss in the run game this year, so it's going to be a challenge for the Bengals to get anything going in terms of the run game this weekend. But it's up to offensive coordinator Brian Callahan and head coach Zach Taylor to be creative and come up with different ways to run the ball. Maybe you see some jet sweeps, maybe you see some trickeration, but if the Bengals are really going to want to run the ball at points during the game on Sunday, they're going to have to be very creative and execute at a very high level against the run defense of the Seattle Seahawks. What about the injury situation? 2 particular injured players to keep an eye on. That one was here at practice on Wednesday and one was not. Chido Awuzie, back issue cropped up last Thursday. He again missed practice here on Wednesday with a back ailment. Also out of practice was Akeem Davis Gaither. He also missed practice, but back at practice, just like he was on Friday, T. Higgins, who was nursing that rib injury from the Tennessee game back in week number 4. He was on the field. He was catching passes. He was listed officially as limited. If T. Higgins cannot go, the Bengals know that they have backups behind him who can be productive and get the job done. We saw what Trenton Irwin did, especially on that first drive of the game Sunday in Arizona. He was very reliable, something Joe Burrow mentioned in his press conference here on Wednesday afternoon. Also, Andre Yoshivas, he was also productive, had a nice catch along the sideline. Joe Burrow took time out of his press conference here on Wednesday to give both Trenton Irwin and Andre Yoshivas some props for how attentive they are in meetings, how reliable they are on the practice field, and of course, how dependable they are during the game itself. So if T. Higgins cannot go here on Sunday and the Bengals want to give that rib not only another week, but also the bye week after the Seattle game some extra time to heal, they may be able to do that. But if T. Higgins can go, obviously this again feels like a kind of a game that the Bengals have to have if they want to go into the break at 3-3 and come back on the road at San Francisco in week number 7. This is a game you got to have at home against a team in the Seattle Seahawks. Very good, but you got them on their home turf. They're traveling back to the East Coast, 10 a.m. body clock time for Seattle. Always a challenge. However, this note, and Jay Morrison tweeted this out of Pro Football Network, the Seahawks are a remarkable 15-1 in their last 16 road games in the Eastern time zone. That is incredible. It's really a testament to how veteran head coach Pete Carroll prepares his team, keeps them loose, and gets them ready to play in an environment that'll certainly be hostile. Well, the Seattle Seahawks and Cincinnati Bengals, they certainly have a history. You go back to 1981. That was the Turk Schoenert game, of course, the late, great Bengal quarterback who came in and replaced Kenny Anderson. Bengals erased a 21-0 deficit, won the game 27-21, and eventually advanced to Super Bowl 16, losing to the San Francisco 49ers. Of course, the Bengals beat them in the playoffs in 1988. And Of course, in 2015, the Bengals came from way back to win an overtime game as part of their 8-0 start to the 2015 season. And most recently, Zach Taylor's first game as head coach in the National Football League. It was a competitive game, but a turnover in the end zone recovered by Seattle really was the difference. A 21-20 nail-biting win for Seattle in the Great Northwest. That was Zach Taylor's first game, and he was asked here on Wednesday, what does he remember about that contest? And he said, not that much, except for the fact that it makes me think back about the growth and really the maturity of our franchise and our program over the last 5 years, how the coaches have come together, how the players have come together, and really it was a hallmark game, obviously, when you coach your first game in the National Football League, as Zach Taylor did. He's learned a lot about coaching in the National Football League since that first game in Seattle in 2019. The Bengals certainly are a much different team than they were some 4 years ago. They are a team right now that is trying to get their season back on track, back to 500. They can do so on Sunday with a win here at Paycor Stadium. We'll have you covered throughout the week. Complete Bengals coverage from inside the locker room and out at practice. Be sure to check out my YouTube page, youtube.com/@JungleRoarPod, online at clnsmedia.com, and as always on Twitter, X at @Trags, TRAGS. Outside Paycor Stadium, Mike Petraglia, CLNS Media.